Welcome, everybody, to Let's Address Texas. My name is Saadia Mirza. I am a political strategist based out of Sugarland slash Houston, Texas. I have to say Sugarland today because somebody from my area were having conversation with our county commissioner out here, Dexter McCoy. He is also running for county judge in Precinct 4. Well, he's a commissioner for Precinct 4. He's running for county judge. And we just put out an article yesterday that a lot of you sent me emails on. A lot of you had questions for us. I was like, why don't we ask Dexter himself, somebody that you can actually elect to represent you and your interests? So I just want to welcome you, Dexter. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and it's good to be here with you.
It's awesome to have seen your growth. I've been watching you since, like you said, you ran for commissioner, and now you're doing this. And how has that been? Like, how has the transition from going from that to running for county judge been for you?
Oh, it's been wild. I mean, since I've been in office since January 1st, 2023, and we have just seen a lot of change. We've been through a lot these past 3.5, almost 4 years. But since I announced running for judge, it's just like crazy town. But it's been a lot of fun.
I'm so glad to see that you're somebody that can handle it because I know who you are. But for those people that are going to get this email or they're going to watch this live or clips later, can you tell us who Dexter McCoy is? Like, introduce yourself to people who may not know you. What do you want voters to know about you, that you've never met and you want them to walk away and know about you as a person?
Yeah. Well, I'm a husband to the girl who stole my heart at 12 years old, growing up here in Fort Bend. We get to parent two beautiful young ladies, Piper and Porter, 3.5-year old and a 2-year old. And this is the community that raised me. I'm the son of teenage parents. A biological father who was incarcerated for much of my childhood and was raised by my grandparents in a very small town in Louisiana until I was 9 years old. When my mom graduated from college, we moved here with my stepdad, and it made all the difference in the world. I went from a resource deficient environment to a resource wealthy one. Got a chance to work for President Obama, advancing higher education opportunities across the country, and came back home in 2017 to work as an administrator in Fort Bend ISD, empowering student leaders and teachers with the resources that they needed to thrive. And when I saw how left behind my community was, I decided to run for county commissioner. And it's been a great joy. I've gotten to do a lot of great things like bringing the county's first paid parental leave policy, advancing protections for workers who are building our critical infrastructure, and raising the minimum wage here for all Fort Bend County employees. So we've been doing a lot of really good, fun stuff. And that's why I'm excited about this next step in leadership.
Oh, by the way, just side note, are you by any chance from Metairie, Louisiana? Because
I,
that's
but I'm not far from Metairie. It's a small town called Bogalusa. We're probably about 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes from Metairie.
okay, because that's where I was born. I was born in Metairie. I tell people New Orleans, but, people who
Sure.
know, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That's amazing. So you are, like, you're Fort Bend, born and not born and bred, but you've been raised here, and so this is your community. You
Yeah,
have, like, skin in the game here.
absolutely. I didn't just parachute in to run for office. Very
And that's really that's great to hear, because sometimes it feels like that. But but even before you were commissioner, what was a regular, let's say, Tuesday like for you?
Yeah, I mean, before I was commissioner, of course, I was chief of staff in the county judge's office. But before that, I worked for Fort Bend ISD. Regular day in the life of me was showing up to work. That was before kids too, because I became a dad as I ran for commissioner. But it would just work. Coming home involved in civic organizations and doing DIY projects. I'm real good with building things. I'm in the midst of a like 6-month long DIY project right now that I just have no time to finish. But it would be doing a lot of stuff like that. But of course, showing up in the community, in spaces where decisions are being made and making sure that folks from my community are being represented.
Well, appreciate that. Sorry we don't have an IKEA closer by. You might have been a little more, but we appreciate you, like, having you because I feel like you said, you've built your name in the community. You've put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, so it means a lot. And right now, you are Fort Bend County Commissioner for Precinct 4. So,
Yes.
can you walk us through like how you got to become commissioner and, what made you run? What was the motivation for you running the first time?
Yeah. So, like I said, I was chief of staff and working in the county. And, one of the things that I noticed really when I came back home in 2017 was, you know, my community wasn't getting all the investments I saw other newer, more wealthy parts of the community get. We had a rusted playground set in the Mission West Park where kids would regularly get cut and scraped on it. But you see the county building new parks and recreational facilities elsewhere. I thought that was wrong. The other part was, being a chief of staff and working in the county, I didn't even see my predecessor except for on commissioner's court days. Many people in the community were not able to reach and find him. I didn't think that was right. Everyone deserves to have representation, and so I decided to leave my role and run for office. I used to work for the former county judge. He was not too happy about it. I was already planning on leaving that office because we weren't aligned in our approach to leadership. But a lot of folks said, you're too young, you need to wait your turn. And if you run, you're going to lose and no one's ever going to hire you again. Well, for me, that's fighting words.
Yeah.
And so I said, look, I'm young. The worst thing that could happen is I'll lose an office and I move on with my life because this is not my whole life and my whole world. I want to do something good for my community. And so we ran one of the most aggressive professional campaigns this county has seen at the county level. And I knocked on thousands of doors myself,
Yeah.
talking to neighbors, and here we are, all these years later.
And I love that about you because even though you haven't personally knocked on my door, I have known people that have knocked on your door. And it's funny because some of the readers that recognize that article, that read that article, they recognize your name. And they were like, I remember when he was running because he was in my neighborhood. And I was like, well, that's so cool. So, I really appreciate that you've been out there and it's a job of service. And I think with everything going on these days, politics has become like people feel like it's a right once they get the job to become a king and you are more of public service, which I really appreciate.
Mhm. No, I appreciate that. Yeah. No, and that's been the big deal. In the last 3.5, going on 4 years, I've held over 37 town hall meetings since I've been in office. And that's because I don't believe that when you get elected, you should go into an office and people don't see you until it's time for them to vote for you again. I can only make the decisions, good decisions, if I have the voices of my neighbors. And so we get out on the ground, we do town hall meetings regularly in different parts of my district. And so that's been a really great joy. We've learned a lot. I've gotten to see things about my county I hadn't seen before. And I think we've made better decisions as a result.
So, you've done all that. What would you say made the biggest impact on you, or what have you learned from commissioner's court that maybe like a regular everyday voter may not know, or something even you notice and you're like, hey, you guys should know about this.
hmm Yeah. Well, I mean, in Fort Bend County in particular, because we have so much of the county that is and so many residents that live in unincorporated parts of the county, they're not within the city limits. What that means is that the county is the one responsible for providing them all those typical things that you rely on every day. And I don't think most people realize that the roads that you drive on, the parks that you go to, when we're talking about how we keep floodwaters out of your house, the county, the new businesses we attract here, the county is responsible for it. So the things that I've learned is just how much responsibility rests with commissioner's court, and how much money moves through our county and back out into the community. And so, most people I would hope that, more people would learn just how consequential the county is to their daily lives and how important it can be to helping to improve the quality of life.
And like I said, it's our job. It's people like you that are going to give us that information. And for everybody, I mean, people are raising kids. They're trying to survive this crazy economy right now. So it's our job at Let's Address Texas to make sure that everybody knows what your job is, what everybody else's job is, and so we can start holding them accountable when we're not seeing them in our neighborhoods.
Oh, that's right.
We should also hold him accountable for something big that went down on April 12th. And I did an article on it yesterday in my words. And I was just wondering if you could shine a little light on what happened in Fort Bend County. I call it MAGA Republican takeover, but I'm not going to put words in your mouth. What would
Yeah.
you say went down on April 12th?
It was a procedural coup is what it was. Republicans have seen their grip on power in Fort Bend County slip. It's been happening for nearly a decade now. And they're struggling to come to terms with that. This community is among the most diverse in the entire country, and it is folks here are very well educated. It is an incredible place to live. People are not okay with the ways of old, and we've seen Republicans really try to usurp the power of everyday residents in this county to amass it for themselves. And so, what we saw happen just a couple of weeks ago was a judge from a district court judge from Galveston County bypassed the ballot box and installed the GOP nominee, the MAGA endorsed nominee for county judge to be the interim county judge. The sitting county judge, many folks may know, has been under a lot of scrutiny lately because first it started with his former chief of staff who started fake social media accounts to launch racist attacks against him so that he could get more name ID and notoriety, really disgusting things. But then through that investigation, found out he had been engaged in money laundering and a whole host of other really serious crimes. And so he's been convicted of that, but awaiting sentencing. But this has nothing to do with that. Back in September, a resident who came to speak at Commissioner's Court was shut down, stopped from speaking because she was criticizing this county judge. And she was told there are no First Amendment rights in this Commissioner's Court. And it's like, whoa. And so she filed a suit. Um, the judge sat on it until just 2 weeks ago and decided to install the nominee for that seat. Someone who has no county experience whatsoever, someone who has never worked in county government or really understands how it works. And so we're a county of over 1 million people now, and there are tons of other former county judges and former county commissioners that still live here that could have been chosen, but no, this was a partisan judge who decided to put a partisan in that office on an interim basis, and it's really disgusting.
And he's linked to a lot of MAGA too, like Troy Nels. If you guys watch that guy that walks around with a cigar in his mouth, wearing Trump ties and things, his brother Trevor Nels, like he has him as a is it a campaign manager or
Him as the chief of staff.
chief of staff? My apologies. So they're bringing in a circus with them, and so his name is Daniel Wong. That's currently been installed, and he is on the ticket that's going to be running against either you or your opponent at the end of May, correct?
That's correct. Hmm.
And what you I believe you called it an act of overt and political and election interference. So when you heard that that judge signed that order, what was your immediate reaction?
WTF? It's crazy. This past year and a half since the Republicans started the unprecedented mid-decade redistricting in Fort Bend County has just been bizarre. I have come to expect the unexpected, and this was definitely unexpected. I think it's unfortunate because really, as opposed to doing the right thing, they choose to do the political thing, and instead of even now that he is the interim county judge, instead of showing and demonstrating, I am here to serve all residents in this county and I'm here and going to be serious about this job while we're just, a month and a half away from the start of hurricane season. No, I'm just going to use this as a campaign platform, bring the nominee for congressional district 22 to be my chief of staff, bring the sitting party chairman to be the communications director. That doesn't speak of someone who's serious about doing the job. That speaks of someone who's a partisan just here to enact an extreme agenda on our county. And it's unfortunate. But time will tell what he chooses to use this time to actually do.
Yeah, and I know that you said WTF. When I got the phone call, I literally was like, not surprising, like, it's just so, the power grabs are so, like, blatant these days across the country, but especially here in Texas. So, I feel like it's just they don't even have to be covert about it anymore. So, I think your response was probably a little bit more dignified than mine. Mine was a little bit more explicit, if you will. So, and you mentioned, like, only time will tell what he's gonna be doing. What can a sitting, like, county judge do between now and November that would be hard to undo, say, for instance, if you win?
Yeah. I mean, well, we're just starting our budget planning process for next fiscal year. For the purposes of his campaign, he can do a lot with that budget. And, him and some of the other conservative members of court could do a lot of damage that would be very hard to undo until next budget cycle, at the very least, if we're ever able to recover from that. And it's going to have implications on the sort of how the response times for EMS. He has talked about lowering taxes and cutting budgets. In a candidate forum, he talked about firing employees. If that happens, that's going to be really hard to rebound from because those are services that our residents depend on. When we talk about the things like I'm trying to do now, in this budget cycle is extend a tax exemption to childcare facilities in our community because we know the cost of childcare is increasing and families cannot reach good quality, affordable childcare. He could say, no, we need to cut the budget and we don't need to be giving exemptions to families. And that'll be really hard for us to be able to in January when hopefully we take office to be able to rebound from. So it's a lot, not to mention policy changes. It'll be a bit easier to change that once we regain the majority back. But there are any host of things that he could do in that office. Yeah.
Are there any guardrails that we or action items that we can have to hold him to account to prevent him from taking these actions as constituents?
Evil prevails in darkness. And I think the biggest thing that we all can do is shine a light on it when it's happening. People showing up to commissioners court, making their voices heard, signing up to speak publicly at commissioners court, making sure to come out whenever these folks are anywhere in public and asking them the tough questions about these things. I will do my job to make sure they elevate it, but it's on the people in the community to continue to express how they feel about it. I'm not always right, and if I'm wrong, people need to tell me that too. But I think with this extreme agenda that they're trying to push, that folks need to be vocal about it.
Absolutely. And so when we do elect you county judge, what are the first 3 things that you're gonna do when you're in office?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to start by addressing our affordability crisis. We're experiencing it across the country, but especially hard right here in Fort Bend. The average home sale price has increased nearly 20% over the last 5 years. When you take on top of that the increase in homeowners insurance, people now are more prone to flooding, and so they have to get flooding insurance. We have to address the affordability crisis because wages have not kept up with that same pace. So one is working with all of the municipal governments here in Fort Bend to pulling them together to coordinate how can we share resources to bring down cost and work together on projects. The second thing that's tied to that is on transportation. If you don't have a car in Fort Bend County, you
You know what, legs?
thing, right? And we are not investing in an advanced transit system that will help people move no matter their socioeconomic status. And so we have to work on a mastered plan for how we're going to extend transit beyond just adding lanes of traffic. And then I also want to make sure that we are defending our democratic values. We had a disgusting mid-decade redistricting that happened because our county judge switched parties and the Republicans decided to enact that. We have to restore political power back to those communities from which it was stolen. And we also have to make sure that we put guardrails in place to prevent this from happening in the future. And so I'm dead set on focusing on that.
Yeah, I'm all on board for that. I've heard some projects being talked about here in Fort Bend, but like you said, it's not resolving a problem. Yes, it's like little tests here and there. Like I believe there's that car service that comes around and you can go to certain locations. And I believe there's like a gondola being proposed.
Conversation about it. I don't know how seriously the city of Sugarland is taking it. And I supported in the 2023 mobility bond. I fought
Sure.
to get that funding for the microtransit system in Sugarland. We got to expand those sorts of things.
And I would love that. Like I said, that's why I'm like, I'm watching the conversations happen, but I'm like, are you guys doing anything? I've seen the cars around, but I appreciate you spearheading that. And so, one of my other
Oh, you
questions.
have a specific time frame to stay in, but I geek out about this stuff. I
No.
am really big on bus rapid transit. Really, really big proponent of that. I was very upset when the new mayor of Houston came in and completely
Yeah,
canceled the
get it.
university line of BRT that would have brought that out to Fort Bend County. We had actually formed a partnership to expand that. We've got to do that. We've got to get that. We have to build managed lanes along our major thoroughfares for bus travel, and think about other forms of transportation along with that.
That yeah, don't worry about any timelines. This is your time. I want people to get to know you like I have had the privilege to know you. And these races, these runoffs are so important. And I feel like like you said, everything happens in darkness. There's not enough light being shined on the people doing the work. So I appreciate you doing all of this. And what would you say, like knowing, the depths of the county, it seems like, what is the single biggest issue facing Fort Bend residents that's not getting enough coverage during this election cycle?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to affordability. We see what gas prices are today. We see how hard it is for people who are starting out in their careers to buy a home. Me and my wife, we built our first home in this community after we got married. And at that predicament, we're in our mid to late 20s. Folks who are at that same point in their lives today probably can't do that. They have to rent, right? And so, I think more people should be talking about that. The fact that over 80% of our property tax value in Fort Bend County comes from residential property. What it means is to afford all of these great amenities, to afford all this infrastructure, roadway and drainage infrastructure in the county. People who own residential property bear the brunt of that. Renters, homeowners, and so it's a really big deal. We have to attract more commercial industry here. I've been focused on that since I've been commissioner, and as judge, I'd love to focus on that economic development more broadly.
I appreciate that. And I'm going to reach over to my notes here because these are more specific dates and I don't want to mess them up. I need everybody to start writing down dates. The Democratic primary runoff is May 26th, but the early voting is the 18th to the 22nd.
That's
Um,
correct.
what do you want to say directly to a voter who's still deciding between you and Rochelle Carter?
Bottom line, this moment calls for fighters. We are at war for the soul of our community. And the choice before voters right now is whether or not they want someone who is a proven fighter, who has the acumen to build bridges and to advance strong policies for working families in this community, or someone that does not have that experience. And so I think I offer a lot. I've proven through the redistricting fight that we had last year that I'm willing to stand up, even if that means I'm the only one doing it, and I'm willing to look at evil in the eye and not back down. The other thing is that it's very important that we bring the energy back to our county government and open up the doors to county government. I've done that in my precinct, but it's about time we do that across the whole county.
And if I'm not wrong, you did draft something about a ceasefire.
Mhm.
Would you like to
Yeah.
touch on that? That's something that this audience would really appreciate. I think that sets you apart from a lot of candidates.
Yeah, I'll start by saying this. Look, I come from, and I know what it's like to be a part of a marginalized community. My Where I'm from in Louisiana, my distant cousin was the first black sheriff in the entire parish. We call them, as you know,
Yeah.
Louisiana. But I think he was among the first in first black sheriff's deputy in the entire state of Louisiana. He'd been on the job 1 year and 1 day and was murdered by members of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. To this day, no one's ever been held accountable for his murder. But when I think about what is transpiring in Gaza right now, when I think about the fact that children are being murdered, and folks aren't being held accountable for that, I think about what that feels like and identify it with it directly. Back in 2024, I called for a ceasefire in Gaza because what I saw was abhorrent, and I believe that there's a better way to achieve peace than through force of that way, like that. And again, even though there were other elected officials who continued to say no, we tried to get other people here to sign on, but it wasn't popular. It wasn't, it was controversial. People were afraid of what the backlash would be. But the thing for me is, I'm here to serve my neighbors, and I am okay losing an office for standing up for what I believe in, because my purpose comes in my work, not my title. And so, yes, I believe what that we all have a role to play here. And then I'll say this on that topic: a lot of folks say county government has nothing to do with what's going on in the Middle East. Well, every single contract in in Texas with a government agency has on there a clause that talks about not doing business with any company that would protest the state of Israel. That means that every bit of business that we do in the county is relevant, and that we do have a role to play and we have a voice and we should use it.
You made me so, like, in my feels. I'm so sorry. I got sidetracked. I'm my first of all, my sincerest condolences. I had no idea. As long as I've known your career, I must have missed that. So, sorry that it had to touch your family like that. Such tragedy, and my heart goes out to you guys. And thank you for your humanity. And that's what people don't realize. County politics, it's not just politics. Everything that you said is absolutely true, but it's also about humanity, and I feel like it tells me a lot about a person or how they'll represent people of color, marginalized communities. So it does speak volumes. I know people don't generally care. I personally do, and that means a lot. So thank you.
I appreciate it. And I'll just say this part.
Please.
Um, our role is to make sure that everyone in our community, especially as diverse as we are, feels seen and heard. And if there are members of my community who want me to speak out because they're feeling unseen and unheard, that is my job. And to give voice to those issues is important to me.
That's great. And for those that are feeling like me right now, maybe you're feeling motivated, and they want to volunteer with you, donate, help. Like, what do we do to get you across that finish line?
Absolutely. Well, we have block walks and phone banks every week. And so if you'd like to sign up to volunteer with us, you can go to dextermccoy.com/volunteer. It also takes a whole heck of a lot of money to run these campaigns, to get all the signs out. We have a paid internship program. And if you'd like to help us get our message out, you can go to dextermccoy.com/donate. And just to learn about me and what all I'm trying to do and have done, you can just go to dextermccoy.com. It's a lot of fun on this campaign. I think you can gather that from what we put out there on social media. We'd love to have more friends at the party.
Looks like you made some friends in the comments here. I didn't even see the comments. You got Sal is talking about corporations buying up all the homes and jacking up the rent.
Oh,
He had,
yeah. Big
yeah.
problem. And that's something we need to work together to get legislation passed around. For as much as they want to pass legislation to ban certain folks from certain countries from owning property, that is a thing that is attacking that is forcing some of this affordability crisis. Private equity buying single family homes and driving up the prices in neighborhoods.
Do you want to
Absolutely.
comment on his, he is the real deal, Qasim Rashid, by the way. This is under his brand, this is his brainchild. Qasim Rashid is the founder of Let's Address This, which is the national brand. He's a human rights attorney. Love him to pieces. He is just amazing, and I figured you two would probably get along.
Yeah.
Um,
Awesome.
yes, and then, Sal had a question. I don't know if you wanna answer before I ask you your last question. Do you think Little Johnson will seat new members of Congress?
Well, we saw what happened with other seats from the seat out of Arizona
Mm.
that he sat on because he could and he didn't want to close that margin. Luckily, when after Greg Abbott played his games here with Congressional District 18, Mike Johnson did seat Congressman Menifee. We have to hold his feet to the fire again. They expect us to not know these things. So absolutely, Sal. We need to make sure that he does.
I love that. And now I'm going to ask you that last question. So this is going to be one that you're kicking off for everybody. You have done a phenomenal job today, by the way. Thank you so much for taking the time, answering the questions, especially so soon after that article was released. This is going to be something I'm going to be asking the next guest. We'll have one guest per week coming up. I hope to see you back before you get to run that last week of May. But If every reader of Let's Address Texas only remembers one sentence from this interview, what do you want that sentence to be?
Mm,
Or you can
mm.
make it up right now, make it up fast.
Yeah, yeah. So we live in an unjust world, and for as long as I'm doing this work, I will continue to fight for justice.
I wish I had a microphone to give you. I could drop it for you, but just goodness, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Dexter. I really appreciate it. Please go out. Please start sending this information out about his campaign. If you want to volunteer, if you want to donate, and definitely meet with him. He holds town halls. He has events all over the city, all over the county. Excuse me. And I think that it's a great opportunity to meet him because he really is a real deal. I really appreciate you, Dexter. Good
Thank
luck.
you so much, and thanks everybody for tuning in.
Take care.